something. So we met Joe Hill probably in February of this year, and he told us a little story. I'm not really going to go into much of that because he will, but his story to us touched us, and we really wanted to really showcase what he wanted to do to really change people's lives. And you know, as we were completing this project, we thought that this would be the best venue to actually have a launch for it. In this area really isn't known for launch parties or knows what a launch party is, but we will be unveiling Aeir Talk tonight, an iPad app that we've been producing in conjunction with SparkRoute and Joe Hill. So, Joe Hill, everybody.
Thank you. That's very nice of you. Tonight is the culmination for my company, Aeir Biologic, for about a year's worth of work. And I say culmination and not, I don't say completion with good reason, because this launch of my app, Aeir Talk, is just it's just the beginning, really. Back in December, I had the idea of an autism app that was going to change the way that autism apps were done. Really, in a sense, it's a speech pathology app, and what that does is just helps children, adults learn to speak new words and incomplete sentences. I don't know how many of you have had experience with children's applications, but a lot of them are not done very well. They're clunky, they're difficult to use, especially ones that focus on autism. And what I saw was a lot of applications that were running $170 to $300 that did not work well. They just looked bad, and I was just really fed up with that. And so I really wanted to do something that was cool and start a company that was going to do applications that were fun and that kids were going to learn from. But not only that, just break the spectrum, disrupt the whole model that's going on out there. Right now there's a little machine called the Dynavox machine, which is basically prescribed by doctors to help children learn how to sleep. But it's $5,000, and speech pathologists and speech therapists have them sitting in closets because they're so difficult to program. Tonight that ends. When I came to We Are Titans, I said I have this idea, and I really want you guys to build it. And they saw what I was talking about. They were really excited about the disruptive model that Aeir Talk is going to be, and they said, of course, we'd love to build it. So they put me with Zach. Zach not only just started to help me started to help me build my company, but also just destroyed a lot of preconceived notions about what it means to build a tech company, about how you can be agile, how you can develop quickly, and how you can put on good work at the same time. And so I really thank you guys for that. Brendan, Zach, you guys have been fantastic, and I just really appreciate all that you've taught me so far. So tonight...
So off for the camera, hold on.
So I want to bring up at this time Andrew Culver. Andrew was the lead developer. Come on up, Andrew. And he's going to just show you the app itself, just what it looks like, how beautiful it is, and just some of the functionality that's going to be behind it. You guys are going to be seeing a lot more of this in the next maybe day or so, because I'll be walking around bugging everybody with it. But come on up, Andrew, take a look.
Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. Just give me a second here to get this set up.
What's your Twitter?
At Biologic, bio_logic.
Everybody sound okay?
There you go.
Yes. Perfect. So hi everybody, my name is Andrew Culver. I'm a software engineer at We Are Titans. It was my pleasure to be sort of the lead developer on this particular application that we built for Joe. I also worked with with Nick M. Jones, and I believe the M stands for Midas Touch. He does front-end development and graphic design, and it's been a pleasure to work with him on this application. So I'm just going to step through this in the same sort of the same way that a parent and a child would step through this application the first time they open it. And I think that's important to do because with an iPad application, the goal in development is to make things as intuitive and automatically learned as possible. So we'll go ahead and open up the application.
Woo!
The first thing you notice when you're looking at AirTalk is how different it is from every other application in this space. If you've been watching 60 Minutes, there was a feature recently on autism-related apps that are in the marketplace right now. And the really distinguishing feature of all of them is that they're so ugly. And so we wanted to put, when something is ugly, it's not inviting. And one of the beautiful things about applications on the iPad are what Apple calls these touches of realism, or meaningful touches of realism. And so we've gone to a lot of trouble to design an interface that's very natural looking and inviting and kind of fun. So the basic concept here is allowing our children to put together simple thoughts, like simple ideas, simple concepts with a verb and a noun, and then reinforce through the audio that we have built into AirTalk how to properly say what it is that they want to express, that they've expressed by touching the screen. It then reinforces how to communicate that want or need. So when you open AirTalk, you see a number of cards.
See a book. I want to see a book. Please see a book. Close. Please close a book. The blocks. Hold. I want to hold the blocks. Pick up a banana. I want to pick up a banana.
So the idea is that the interface is just super simple. And it seems really simple, right? Like verbs and nouns. You think, how much could you really express with just verbs and nouns? Tons. Absolutely a ton. And it takes a lot of thought to think through, 80% of what somebody's going to want to communicate and simplify it into a model like this. But if you can do it, and if you can make it intuitive for parents to set up the application in this way, what it allows us to do is have an absolutely dead simple interface. And so just with verbs and nouns, you can express a number of different wants and desires and needs. Now, there's more to the application than this, although this is where a child will spend the time that they're using it. One really important aspect of AirTalk that distinguishes it from other applications in this space is the connection, the personal connection that a child has to their parent. And it was interesting during development, we talked to Joe about this. We talked about the different opportunities, the different libraries that were available for getting audio out of this application. And in the end, based on the research that Joe had done in the development of his application and the development of his business, for me, it was really intuitive to pull in like a text-to-speech library, right? Because just think, then you just have to have text, it will automatically generate the audio, any combination will fly, you can do more complicated sort of grammatical renderings of the language, and all these things that like software engineers get really excited about. But what, in the end, it was really important to the users that Joe had interviewed that it be a parent's voice, so that the child had that familiarity and that connection to their parents. What was so incredible, and we'll show you some of the features that relate to that, but what was so incredible was the first time I sat down with a child to do user testing with this application, it was my son. And the first thing he did, I had a card configured with a picture of his mother. And as soon as he saw it, it was the first one he hit. It was the picture of his mom's face. And my voice said, "Mom." And he just shot up. This is a kid that doesn't respond to any iPad apps that he uses. He never talks back to them. We've got Japanese ones, we've got English ones. I can't get this kid to say anything to the iPad. And he jumps up and says across the room, "Mom, Dad just said Mom." And I realized Joe was right. Like, this is going to work for parents, and it's going to work for kids. And that is really a distinguishing feature of the application that we've built. So, let's go through that configuration interface. Any of you who have children and have let them play with your iPhone or iPad, one of the things you run into commonly is they're playing with some app, and then all of a sudden they're in the configuration screen. And you're like, "Oh, get out of there," and there's alerts popping up, and you're like, "Ah!" And it's not fun anymore, so then they hit the, vote with their finger and hit that button right at the bottom of the iPad. and they're out of the app, and it's not engaging, right? So we wanted to come up with a clever way, without being too unintuitive, to block folks from getting into the configuration interface. And so you can see the setup buttons in the top right-hand corner. So surely, when a child opens up the application, the first thing they're going to do is click the setup button, because that seems to always be what happens. So in our application, when you press it, it actually just gives you further instructions. It doesn't disrupt the usage of the application, and it doesn't even give that much feedback that would make it too tempting to do. But it just informs the parent, please press this while holding please. And so, press please, and we're now in the setup of the application. So, the verbal part and the words in this application are basically, like we said, made up of verbs and nouns and some phrases. So it's important to allow parents to record the audio for themselves. Although when I open it up, you hear my voice. We want to allow parents to record, so we give them a little bit of feedback or a little bit of guidance. I want to talk about something, please. And so this is really great because when my son plays with this application, he's going to hear talk about, like his Canadian dad would say. So it's familiar to him, right? So go ahead and save those settings. And then parents have the opportunity to record the audio for the words that are already in the application, and they have the ability to add new words. So we'll go ahead, and my son and I have taken some photos. You can see we've got different photos. Yeah, I think a baby sister is pretty good. Lydia. But this is going to be familiar for the children using this application, right? Lydia.
I want to. Lydia.
Oh,
Something.
I'm sorry. I'm setting up a verb. That's wrong. So let's see if I have anything that would make a good verb. That's a terrible photo. Let's see if we've got something good here. Go on to. Smile. Smile.
I want to. Smile. Something.
Okay, so I know it doesn't seem to make sense, right? But what we're trying to do there, with the recording, you can do all sorts of things wrong if you're not used to using the application. So I could do like, okay, how does this work? Oh, okay, it's recording now. Smile.
I want to. Does this work? Oh, okay, it's recording now. Smile.
Right, so
Something.
one of the things we realized was that people were going to we'd need to give them some feedback on how they were recording the audio, make it really intuitive. Otherwise, they're not going to enjoy it. They're going to select the card, they're going to hear background noise, a whole bunch of white space. The words aren't going to go together nicely. It's not going to be a great experience. So what we're doing is giving them a little bit of feedback. Smile.
I want to. Smile. Something.
Okay, and so they can hear. That's going to fit well in this application when my child uses it. So we'll go ahead and save smile. And when we go out of the application, the card shuffle, I don't know if you saw that, but there's, oh, sorry about that. Let's back up, yeah, okay, there we go. So the card shuffle and, there we go.
Smile.
So I want to smile. So also go in and just want to point out here with the photos that we're providing with the application, the idea isn't, for people to use necessarily these photos, but what we're trying to train users to do is think creatively about how you can create still images of verbs so that it's going to be something their children can recognize and understand when they use the application. So this takes a little bit of thought, actually. So we thought by shipping a number of examples with the application photos that we had taken, with our own toys and things like that, that we would be able to train users that way. Instead of shipping a manual with it or having to provide like a long tutorial video or anything like that, we thought just providing examples of how we sort of creatively came up with photos for things like,
Hold.
all right. All right, and And that was me stepping through the application to make sure there was nothing else that we were supposed to cover.
Go out. Pick up. The blocks.
Just to talk a little bit about the experience of building an application and getting user feedback from things like user testing. We did testing both with children and with parents. And it was clear, like, there were so many things that we learned from watching parents use it that were not intuitive. Things that, after developing the app, come naturally, but people just didn't get it. And again, rather than having a manual that we ship with the application, we would rather just have it work automatically. So there are a number of tweaks to this interface. And it reminds me of something that Steve Jobs said, which in the development of the applications and products that they create. And that is that, simple is really hard. And sometimes it's a lot more difficult to do simple than it is to do complex, because you have to think and trim and cut until things are just sort of automatically understandable. So one other experience we had when a child was using it is they would
Go
hit
out. An apple. The blocks. Pick up. An apple. An apple. An apple. An apple.
That happens a lot. But originally, these cards at the bottom of the screen weren't responsive at all. They were just sitting there waiting to be, I want to.
Pick up. An apple.
All right. And but they didn't do anything if you touch them. And in the end, we decided it's
Pick
best
up.
if when you touch them, they just sort of disappear, so that it doesn't get stuck on that, on that one thing. And it encourages them to sort of explore the application. So that's it from a feature perspective. And also just giving you a little bit of insight into the thought that went into the application during the research that Joe was doing while we were doing development alongside Joe. I hope you enjoy the demo, and it was a real pleasure to work on this. So thank you very much for your attention tonight, and thanks for sharing this with Joe. It's really exciting for all of us.
So you guys can see that what we really wanted to do was something that was intuitive, that was fun to use, and any child can use this. Andrew's child is proof positive of that. The ability to input whatever language you want to, by saying whatever words you want to, by typing in new things, by taking pictures and creating new sentences, all of that is built into the app itself. And for me to be able to have my son learn to say, "I love you, Daddy," even though he doesn't specifically understand what that means yet, that's the reason why I created the app. And that's the reason why we are all here. We all have something that we're really passionate about. We all have something that we love. Whether you're a mentor, or whether you're a coder, whether you're a designer, if you love design, if you love just what you do, and you keep talking about it, and you keep doing it, and you keep building stuff, good things happen. That's why AirTalk got built. It's because I would refuse to take no for an answer, and I refused to become discouraged when people told me, "I don't see a market in this, I don't understand where it's going. It's a niche app." All the same answers you guys all hear about your products and why they don't matter to people with money. The truth is, AirTalk might not be the biggest selling app of all time, but I know it's probably going to be one of the best designed apps of all time. And I know it's going to be one of the most beautiful apps that most people have ever seen, especially when it comes to education apps for their children. So guys, we're all here on a journey together. I'm so happy you can share it with me. My wife is here, Sandy. Sandy's put up with a lot of meetings and me going out saying, "Well, this guy might give us funding," or "This guy might say this," or "I need to go talk about design." So thank you, baby. I appreciate it. And thank you all guys. Thank you very much. So you guys go have fun and build something.
How much is it going to be?
It's going to be $40.
Wow.
To put that in perspective, one of the ugliest, most unintuitive apps, I'm allowed to say it because they're not my competition, but I've looked into this stuff as well, and there's an app in this space that sells for $200 on the App Store. But you can believe that, like, for the folks who are going to benefit from an application like that, that's going to be worth every penny. And so I think for Joe to come in at a lower price point with a more intuitive application, I think he has the opportunity to do really well in that space.
I forgot to open up the questions, so I apologize. Any other questions or anything like that? Yeah.
What are you guys gonna do to market then, if you have to build like
Well,
a better product for a lower cost?
I've had a couple of guys, one with TechCrunch and one with a blog called the Startup Toolkit. He runs a blog out of London and doing startups over there. You think it's difficult here, you should try to be in London. And they really think that, you know, the tech world's gonna be really receptive to it. Just from the standpoint of they all have kids, they all understand. Design, beautiful design really appeals to a lot of people. And so they're gonna do that. We're putting up, well, if we can get some money, we're gonna be putting up an ad on a place called autisable.com. It's about 20,000 readers. It's run by Joel Manzer here locally. They all have children with autism. They blog constantly. And that's going to run for about 3 months. And then just me going out, if we can get some funding, and just going out and going to special needs conferences or talking to schools, talking to educators. I was just put onto a board for a study that's going to be conducted in the summertime for apps with autism through EVMS. And we've made a couple of inroads into that area as well. So my company really wants to design really cool and intuitive apps for just things in the medical field. Not just for autism necessarily, but this isn't the last one that we're going to do. We're now a one-stop shop. We definitely want to just do, or one-hit wonder I should say. We definitely want to do more in just a lot of spaces that people aren't playing in because either they don't understand it or they don't think you can do anything there. When, you know, there's always something to be done, and you can't crush, you know, innovation anywhere. So we're just gonna keep doing that.
So, to piggyback on your thing, I have a news background. We are in talks with the Early Show right now. CBS 60 Minutes did a show on autism apps, but not with the story that Joe has. Joe didn't even tell you the whole story. There's a lot deeper of a story that didn't come out. And if he wants to tell it, he can tell that. But the whole thing is they did a 10-15 minute segment on just an app that is helping improve but doesn't have the story behind it. And we believe that it will get to that level and it will get on 60 Minutes because it does have that story behind it, because you don't always have that. And if it hits that, I mean, it will definitely blow up.
Yeah.
In our opinions. So.
Any other questions? Yes, sir.
I've worked with some of the child autism, and distractions are a big, you know, like, especially too many movements or two things that are dissimilar are happening. The need for a constant where they control and then probably, but does video play a point? Like as far as like lift, the concept like lift or whatever, maybe does video play a point perhaps at a later, like when you've actually assembled the verb noun?
We constantly want to iterate this app. So whatever feedback we're getting, we definitely want to pay attention to. It's all part of Lean Startup type of philosophy. I'm a big proponent of that, which is why I went around to like a bunch of families and just asked them, you know, if you had an app, what would you do? And the great thing about the iPad is that it is allowing to show how stupid researchers can be sometimes. Because a lot of researchers are saying, no, they're not going to learn how to talk this way. No, they're going to forget how to spell. This is not going to help them. And yet I hand my son an iPad, who's 4 years old and autistic, and he masters YouTube within an hour and a half and is looking up train spotting videos from Japan and Finland. And stuff you wouldn't even expect, but he loves it. And he's finding other videos like it, constantly going back and forth. But whenever we put other videos on there for him to watch, he eventually finds the train videos again. So it's showing that it's unlocking a lot of these chasms in the mind. And whether or not it requires video or not, I'm not quite sure. But I think through the repetition of the words and the movement, they stay fixated on it. That was the whole purpose of the 60 Minutes video, is to show that. This is something that hasn't been seen in years of research. So, which makes me happy, because it shows that there's a market, but there's also just so much that we don't know, especially about the human mind. And so for people to write it off, write a lot of these kids off, is just absolutely ridiculous. So, and I think that the iPad and apps like mine are going to show that. So, any other?
What's an Aeir stand for?
Aeir, EIR was the Norse goddess of medicine. I thought that was kind of cool. So decided to throw an A in front of it because I didn't think that EIR.com was cool enough. So I just really wanted to do something that's cool. Is that deep?
Speaking as a researcher, I don't take
Not
offense
all
to this.
research. Some research. I've met a couple.
Thank you. I'm just wondering what kind of buy-in do you have from speech pathologists, or do you have any regulatory barriers that you have to overcome, like go to
Not really. Mine's just being put up as an educational app. I'm not putting it as necessarily a treatment, so to speak.
Can you do you see yourself working with, let's say, a speech pathologist from EBMS to sort of validate some of the things?
Yeah,
you're saying?
absolutely. And that's part of the study that we're going to be part of this summer. Dr. Stephen Deutsch over at EBMS, he's doing research with the valve C mouse, which is, he's shown that a certain drug, when given to this type of mouse, which is naturally antisocial, a lot like most children with autism, has shown that it increases sociability within these types of mice. So that's, and he's just fascinated. He was one of my biggest cheerleaders. They actually put him up as like a counterpoint to the story they did back in April for my app. He says, I don't see anything wrong with it. I think it's okay. And then I went and showed him just a drawing of the app, and he just blew up. He loved it. So he's been really excited about the app and what it's coming out. He wants to see what it's capable of, and studies with not only young children, but also older children who are having trouble with speech. And just seeing where this can go, not only with autism, but special needs, head trauma, normal children. I really think there's a lot of things that can be done.
The thing that comes to mind is TBI. Brain
Yeah.
injuries.
Yeah, exactly, especially TBI. Having to relearn that function, just the constant repetition, and again, the visual stimuli, which is actually fun to use. It's inviting, it's like Andrew said, it's beautiful, and it's elegant, and you don't see that in speech pathology applications, and that's what I really love about it. So, anyone else? Yes, sir.
What's the launch date? I got a friend that needs it.
We put it on the App Store, when? This weekend?
It will be shipped to Apple tonight, tomorrow, or Monday, and if all goes well, 1, 2, 3 weeks. It's
Hopefully
it's up to
sometime
them.
before Thanksgiving, if not now. Yes, sir.
Yeah, just to speak on that, because I have shipped apps recently, the amount of regulation that they're doing has actually gone down, and some people are getting like first time an app shipped in 24 hours if it's simple enough. Now we're tapping into a lot of different libraries, things like audio and photos. One thing I didn't mention actually that's really cool is the camera on an iPad's not really great. So for this sort of thing, if you want to take pictures like this, but with the new iCloud features, when you take a picture on your phone, within like a minute, it's available on your iPad to use in the application. So that's really cool.
Yeah.
But because we're tapping into all of those things, I wonder if they will spend a little bit more time on this one. But yeah, 2 weeks usually max, but some people have been getting through in like a couple of days.
Just in time for the Christmas holiday to buy it for somebody.
Yay. So, but yeah, I'll definitely show it.
Are you marketing it just for now, or just for the autistic space?
No, I've been blogging about this for a while, and my Facebook page, facebook.com/Aeir Biologic. We've just been putting pictures up and just the iterations of it. That's why we're putting it in education, because it's more of a generic space.
Right.
And that's why I'm talking to tech blogs about it, because they have inroads into autism, but again, the two worlds don't talk very much. That was another thing. Tech and speech pathology, they don't talk very much. And so I really wanted to blend bring the design and the beauty of tech and the iPad to speech
I just think I
pathology.
have a 2-year-old niece that could probably.
Right, exactly. And the great thing is, Spanish, like I said, Spanish, French, Japanese, Chinese, whatever. Put whatever character you want to in there. As long as you're willing to do the work and associate it. Now we're talking about maybe launching a second version with a text-to-speak type of thing. We're still working on that, thinking about that, but it'll definitely be interesting. That would be more of a premium model, so maybe a little bit more than 40. But at the same time, it's going to hit all the bases, I think, of what people need, especially parents. So. What else?
On a Start Norfolk level, seeing what you went through
Yeah.
over the last 9 months,
Yeah.
and seeing what has happened over this weekend, how have you seen this area change?
Well, if you guys will permit me, I know you've been here for a little bit. Let me just tell you a little bit what I went through comparatively. Here you come, you pitch, you pick a team, you're building within a day, which is awesome. Me, I went and pitched and pitched and pitched and pitched and pitched to a lot of people. And finally I got a lot of promises for funding, for development, for a lot of different things. Only to say, well, we need a business plan. Which we all know that business plans suck and are stupid, especially 50-page ones.
Business, actually, yeah, plans suck, models are.
Models are great, but I didn't know that. So I'm out there typing out 20-page business plans while I'm working at night at a hotel, just hoping that they'll give me funding, because I'm doing this, because they asked me to. Oh, we needed you to change this. We need you to change this. We need a functionality chart. We need to know what's comparison to other things out there. It was an old business style that does not work in tech. If I had gone through all the hoops they wanted me to jump through, somebody else would have done what I'm doing, probably by now, and then I would have been out the door and never would have had developed. So and then I finally stumbled upon Titans, and we were able to finally get funding and work this out, and so we can get it built. It was great. It was wonderful. I was very lucky and I'm very happy. But at the same time, comparatively, where things were 9 months ago to where they are tonight, it's 100% different. It's a complete 180 in a positive direction, which is why a guy who just comes to do panning shots from Wavy TV 10 is just wide-eyed and just like, this is awesome, I love this, and that's the guy from Wavy. He doesn't have any stake in this. We all have a stake in this somewhat. Well, not my team. We're building, just because we want to build it. But at the same time, people who are going to win, potentially, they have a lot of stake in this. But we're all standing around, milling about, networking, talking to one another, talking about tech, talking about things we see. Keith and I sat down and were too loud in the Starbucks one day. I never would have been able to do that before. And just talk about what's wrong with big companies and how can we iterate, how can we change. It's a complete difference, and it's a wonderful difference. And if we can just keep it going, which I know we can, because we're all smart people, we all love what we're doing. I think that we can become a Boulder. We can become our own unique little place, and I think it would be really cool. Yeah.
So, this is just a thought. Have you looked into, or do you see any value in capturing metrics in that application for a researcher? So, how many times?
How many times? Yeah, I think so. I think that there was a guy I met at my church who was talking about metrics as some way of metric capturing. I think that's something we want. Right now, we're just focusing getting out the door, and then just changing the code as we go and just learning more. But I think definitely a metric capture would be fantastic for how much are they scrolling? What are they hitting more often? Is there particular words or colors that they're attracted to? All these things that would just make a researcher giddy and things that put me to sleep. So, this is one of those things where we just have to see.
Yeah, but that's what makes web-based apps amazing, is that you can, that quickly, switch that. Hey, our numbers are saying this, we actually should probably be doing this.
And that's why we put in the shuffle feature. There was a competitor who was talking about the shuffle feature like it was a big deal. Andrew had it done in a week. He's like, oh yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. I have that done now. Really? All right, sweet.
Yeah, I should actually say the shuffle feature didn't take me a week to develop. It's just my own pride speaking. But Joe, the point was we had a meeting with Joe. We had these sort of iteration meetings, and we talked to Joe, and he mentioned that somebody had brought this thing up, and so it was.
Long nights, Andrew. We know it's true.
Long
It's
nights.
okay.
Andrew's the jam.
I was up all night working on the shuffle.
Andrew's the jam. Anybody else? Oh, I'm sorry.
So, a couple of things that weren't mentioned. Where do we find this? Obviously, you will be able to find it in the App Store soon. We have everyone's information here. We will obviously let you guys know where it is in the App Store when we have that.
You can follow it up
but for
Aeir
now,
_talking on Twitter.
and there's a site right now, airtalk.com, that is out there that is your typical static splash page. What has been the hardest part throughout this process? Was it the family situation? Was it finding someone? Was it the being promised and then being told, never mind? Was it the
all of
The
them.
9 months of this, was it
I think
was
that-
it last night going to bed and saying, "Holy crap, this is actually happening"?
I think the toughest part for me was being patient. And there's a lot of distractions out there while your product is being developed. There's a lot of distraction, especially if you're not coding. This is one of the reasons why I want to learn to code, so I can start putting these wireframes together and just have something built out for folks to show people. I think that was the biggest. I think that was the biggest frustration for me, just knowing that we had a great product. It just needed to be built. And at the same time, working and bootstrapping and working 2 jobs, and it's humbling. It's really humbling. But at the same time, I had a lot to learn. I was very green when I came to Zach. I didn't really understand a whole lot. And there's a lot of things that I think the waiting process really helped me with, and especially when it comes to development. It's just like, things take time. If you want to make it good, you got to make it good. You can't shortcut these things. You can't cut corners. And I think that was one of the biggest lessons that I had to learn. And that it's not going to be what people promise you. A lot of people will promise a lot of things. But even when they let you down, because everyone always will, it's you just have to pick yourself up and just keep going. And it might not always happen, but it'll be okay.
Not everyone.
What?
Let you down.
Not everyone will let me down. Zach and Titans are wonderful.
No, community. This community.
And this community too, yeah. But what Zach has done here, it was sort of around the same time that we formed Spark Group and made an agreement there. And it just seeing everything that's come about because of that. And a lot of us have business ideas. Zach has an idea for a culture in Norfolk. And that's what's being built here. And that's what you're seeing come to fruition here. And I think this culture is one that I want to be a part of. This is what I've always wanted to be a part of. I love the tech world. And now I'm meeting all these other people who have tech ideas. It's fantastic. So, yeah, I'm in love with Start Norfolk. And I'm really in love with what's going on. Yes, Steve?
And I had, on the road in Hampton Roads, our Facebook page, we had the opportunity over a spread of months, was it about 6 months ago, had a chance to sit down with Joe and interview him, a couple times, did the initial ones. And I will, as I've told Joe to his face, of the now going on 40+ interviews I've had the privilege of doing since July, his interview was the most touching that I had the privilege to edit. It was one of our first ones, very crude, and having problems with sinking. But I kept going over and over it, and it really has a message. So I would encourage, if you got nothing else to do, go up on it's a Facebook page. You go up, it's On the Road in Hampton Roads. But this will show you a man of character with, we use the title with, when life knocks you down, you can choose to get up. I borrowed that from a movie, but it is so appropriate to this great man and what he's trying to do here.
Thanks, Steve. Appreciate it. Anybody else, any other questions? Anything like that?
Go get inside.
Yeah, you guys are good.